Hi, welcome to the Fabric Connect overview. Fabric is one of the components of Fabric, which the other one being Fabric dashboards. Here we will have an overview of this tool, so you get an idea of how it works. And here I will log in. Fabric Connect usually runs on your computer or on one server. On one place you can run it, or you can run it in many places, to consume information from sources and send them to Fabric. We also support sending these events to other systems. We will see later, but mainly it's to send the events to Fabric. The sections on the main page are targets. The targets are Fabric configurations where you want to send events. For example, now I will create one to send events to my user at evanfabric.com. Here you can configure to send to other servers, not only evanfabric.com, in case you have on-premise installation. Here I will check if the configuration is okay, and it's okay, so I'll create it. And now we have the list of targets here. We can filter and sort by columns. We can also edit and check. The next section is data sources. This is for databases. Here you can, like targets, but for databases, sources. So you can configure databases, put the name, the JDBC URI, which is the connection string to the database. Here you can see an example. Then username and password, and the JDBC driver. The Fabric Connect supports all databases that have a JDBC driver. You just have to download the driver from the database vendor and drop it on the lib folder of Fabric Connect, and it will be picked up from there. So here you have the configurations, and then the next section is connectors, which is the main one. And here you can create the connectors, and it has 4 sections. General, which now has only the name and if it should also start. Source, which is where the data comes from. Input format, which is how to parse or interpret that data, that input data, to transform it to a format that Fabric can understand. And then target, which is where to send it. Let's do a quick example to see how it works. We will make a request to a website and download the content. In this case it will be JSON, and we will send it to Fabric. I will say to auto start. The source will be an HTTP client, but before, let's have a quick overview on all the supported sources right now. Like Fabric Connect is an extensible platform. We can add sources, new input formats, and new targets as plugins. The current ones supported are ActiveMQ, which is a message queue. You can read the content of an email account and get email content and attachments. You can watch a folder on a file system, and whenever a file is dropped there, it will be picked up. You can make requests periodically to a web resource and download it. You can also do the opposite, which is to listen on a port on the current Fabric Connect installation, and whenever a request is done on the resource path, the request will be translated into an event. Then we have IRC, where you can listen on IRC channels and translate the messages and events into events to send to Fabric. JMX, which is used on Java and the JVM. Apache Kafka, which is a persistent message queue. You can run a local command on the machine where Fabric Connect is running and translate the output and the result and the status into an event. MQTT, which is a format mainly used for Internet of Things. Any message broker that supports MQTT can be used here. RabbitMQ, which is another message queue. Remote command, which works like local command, but it will be run on another computer, supporting SSH, SNMP, which is a protocol, and SQL for the SQL databases, and syslog, which is a log protocol. Now let's go with HTTP client. I will configure it here. You can, in this case, you can configure, in the case where the source is not something we get the events as they happen, but we have to actively poll or periodically poll for new content. You can configure it with the interval type with timer, which is the simplest one. where you say if something like 1 hour 10 minutes, every 1 hour 10 minutes 5 seconds, or every 10 minutes and 5 seconds, or every 5 seconds, or stuff like that. This is the simplest one. And or cron expressions, where are used by sysadmins and are much more flexible. You can have really complex expressions like run every Tuesday and Wednesday at 2 a.m. and 2 p.m. or something like that. For now, let's go with timer. We will run this every 15 seconds. Now we have to specify which format the input has. Like with sources, it's extensible, so we can add more formats. These are the ones that we support now. Apache Avro, which is a binary encoding, CSV, files, Excel, spreadsheets, JSON, text, extracting content from text with regular expressions, and XML. Now let's go over how they are configured. For Avro, you have to drop the jar with the class that deserializes the binary encoding on the lib folder, and then write the class path here, just like the data source. It will be the same. With CSV, you have to say how many lines you want to skip, which is a separator character, which one is a quote character, and then you have to add mappings. So the column 1 will be mapped to address.number, or I don't know, details.name, and stuff like that. And you can add more mappings. For Excel, you have to add expressions. If you use Excel, you're used to it, C4, or from C4 to C9, or from C1, D3, and G9, or you can even specify the sheet name, and then specify the path where that expression will be inserted in the result. For JSON, you can just send the JSON as it is, or you can use JSON mapping, which you say which path from the source and to which path of the target. Text with regular expressions, write a regular expression to match, and then where you are going to write it on the target JSON. And you can say match each line or match the whole content. And for XML, you can specify the encoding. If there's an error parsing the XML, how many bytes you want to log to the log file, and then XML mappings, where you write an XPath expression to extract the value from the source and to which path you want to write it. But now we are with JSON, so I will say that I'm going to use JSON and no JSON mapping. And target, like with sources and input formats, we can add the different targets. Right now, these are the ones that we support. The simplest one is to log, which is whenever a new event happens, log it to the log file. So it's useful for troubleshooting. If you don't know what the content is, or you're having some strange format errors, you can dump the content of the event to the log and see what is there. To mFabric, of course, to Elasticsearch and Apache Kafka are two other targets we support. Now we are going to use mFabric. I'm going to select the target I configured. I'm going to send to my the group that is created from a user, and to the channel JSON. I will create this, and now the connector is created but stopped, so now I will start it. For the connectors, you can also remove them or edit them. Let's do another one, a really quick one. Let's do HTTP XML to mFabric, select auto starts. The source will be, again, HTTP request. I have also an XML example on my website. We will run every 10 seconds. The input format will be XML. We will leave this as it is, and we will send it to mFabric. We'll send it to this channel, and we will start it. Now we can see the content. This is the JSON that we are getting from the URL, and this is the XML that we are getting. Now let's go to mFabric, and let's create two sources, one for the XML and one for the JSON. This is not a video showing mFabric, but mFabric Connect, so I will just go quickly and create an MS source. In this case, the channel is XML, and one for JSON. So now we had the XML generate an event, and we can see that it's the content of the XML, but as data. Since XML doesn't tell you what is a number, what is text, and what is a Boolean value, all the values are represented as text. You can later use transformers to actually convert them to numbers if you need. And the JSON it already has the numbers and booleans as correct types. So this was a quick overview of FM Fabric Connect. If you have any doubt or question, or you want to talk about something, just comment on the YouTube comment section or contact us on Facebook, Twitter, or via email.